Okay, let's take a little break and get another logic fact that can be incredibly useful going forward. I would like us to consider these two arguments. Now, I know there's no words. It's not like Max is a poodle, Max is a dog or anything, but we can figure this out. We can use what we know about the argument forms to decide whether this inference is good and decide whether this inference is good. So let's take a look at this one first. If front, then back. Therefore, if opposite back, then opposite front. Now, it's been a while since we talked about evaluating inferences to if-then sentences, but we have a trick. Remember what that trick is? What we can do is think about taking the entire claim that is the reason and adding to it the front part of the conditional and seeing if the back part of the conditional follows. So in this case, we want to think if this reason were true, or assume this reason, and add to it the front part of the conditional that is the conclusion, and decide if the back part of the conditional that is the conclusion follows. So I'll give you a moment to think about that. Pause the video, think, and come back when you're ready. Okay, so what did you decide? Let's check it out. If front, then back, and the opposite of the back, would the opposite of the front follow? Well, let's poodle dog it. If Max is a poodle, then Max is a dog, and Max is not a dog. Would it follow that Max is not a poodle? It would. So this is valid. So I'm going to take away the frowny face. Do the same thing for this inference over here, exactly the same. Add the front part of the conditional that is the conclusion to the reason, and see if the back part of the conditional that is the conclusion follows. Pause for a moment, think about it, and come back when you're ready. Okay, so what did you decide? Let's check. If the opposite of the back, then the opposite of the front, and the front, therefore back. Now this one might be trickier, but isn't F the opposite of the opposite of F, right? The not F is the same thing as not F. The opposite of the opposite of F is F. So we are imagining adding the opposite of the back to this conditional. And what are we concluding? Well, B. But isn't that the opposite of the opposite of B? So this is valid too. This is if front, then back, the opposite of the back, because F is the opposite of F. And we are concluding the opposite of the front, because B is the opposite of B. So this is valid too, so I will get rid of the frowny face. Now note, the reason I have this colored green both places, I want to kind of highlight that that's the same claim. And the reason that I have this colored kind of peachy or orange is because I want to highlight that that's the same claim. So what we have is, from claim 1, I can infer validly claim 2, and from claim 2, I can infer validly claim 1. That means that those claims are what we call logically equivalent. They are saying exactly the same thing. It's just different ways of saying it. It's just like if I were to say, Albert is shorter than Barbara, I could say Barbara is taller than Albert. I'm saying the same thing. So let's write that as a rule. If front, then back is exactly the same as what? What should we write here? Think for a moment, pause, and then come back when you're ready. Okay, I think we should write this. If the opposite of B, then the opposite of F. There is a fancy word for this relationship or for this equivalence. It's called the contrapositive, but I actually prefer to think about it as the hop and up. I guess this should only have one P in it because we're talking like hopping like a bunny. Can you see why? It's because exactly what we do. We can take the front part, hop it to the back, and take the opposite of it. We can take the back part, hop it to the front, and take the opposite of it. When you hop and op at the same time, you get an equivalent if-then, or an equivalent conditional. Don't hop without opping. Don't op without hopping. But if you do them both at the same time, you're golden. All right, let's apply the hop and op logical conditional equivalents to these 4 if-then sentences. For each of the following, write the equivalent if-then sentence. So let's just take a look at the first one, okay? Think about that. What if-then sentence would that be equivalent to? So pause the video, think for a bit, and come back when you're ready. Okay, what did you have? We're gonna hop and op. So it's easier for me if I take a look and hop the back part opposite to the front part first. So Max is a dog, so I will write if Max is not a dog, then, and I'm going to take the front part, hop it to the back part, and take the opposite. Then Max is not a poodle. Let's just take a look at that. If Max is a poodle, then Max is a dog. That's true, right? If Max is not a dog, then Max is not a poodle. That's true too. If Max isn't even a dog, Max can't be a poodle. So you see, it gives us another true sentence. If we take a true sentence, true equivalence, a true if-then, and we contrapositive it, or we hop and op it, we're going to get an equivalent if-then, which of course will also be true. Take a look at the next one. If Jack isn't motivated by his moral duty, then his action doesn't have moral value. Take the contrapositive, or the hop and op of that conditional, decide what that is, pause for a moment, come back when you're ready. Okay, so what do you have? This is what I would get. I will. If, it's going to be equivalent to, if, well, I'm going to take the back part, his action doesn't have moral value, and the opposite of that is going to become the front part. So that would be his action does have moral value. And since the his is Jack, I'll just say Jack. If Jack's action does have moral value, then now the opposite of the front part is going to be the back part of the new conditional. Jack isn't motivated by his moral duty, so that would be Jack is motivated by his moral duty. Good. If Jack isn't motivated by his moral duty, then his action doesn't have moral value. If Jack's action does have moral value, then Jack is motivated by his moral duty. They mean the same thing. Do that for the third sentence there. If Jack is behaving morally, then he can rationally want others to behave in the same way. Pause for a moment. Think about what that would be once you hop and op, and then start again when you're ready. Okay, so what do you have? This is what I would have. I'm going to take the back part, take the opposite of that, and that's going to be the front part. The back part is Jack can rationally want others to behave in the same way. So I am actually just going to be really lazy here and do this. If Jack can't rationally want others to behave in the same way, then the front part is going to become the back part negated. So the opposite of the front is going to become the back. Jack isn't behaving morally. And there we have it. If Jack can't rationally want others to behave in the same way, then Jack is not behaving morally. Very good. And one more. If Jack is treating people as means only, in other words, using people, then Jack is behaving unethically. Pause the video, decide what this would be, what the equivalent conditional would be once you take the contrapositive or you hop and op, and then start again when you're ready. Okay, here's what I have. This is going to be the same thing as if I'm going to take the back part, negate it, and it's going to be my new front part. Jack is behaving, well, the opposite of unethically is ethically, right? So if Jack is behaving ethically, then Jack is treating people as means only. So the opposite of that would be Jack is not doing that. Jack is not treating people as a means only. This ability to take a conditional and write an equivalent conditional is handy in a number of contexts. Certainly one of them is sometimes you might encounter an if-then sentence that just doesn't make a lot of sense to you for whatever reason. If that happens, hop and op it, and maybe the equivalent conditional will make more sense, in which case you can just think about it like that because it's the same idea, it's the same claim. Very good. So we will put this into practice next time. But before then, I think I want to review these forms and stuff, and then we will apply them. So the next time we get together, we'll probably be going through PowerPoint. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.